Hi, my name is Chris Hansen. I live in Vermont in the United States, but I'm actually from New Zealand, and I'm still a citizen of New Zealand even though I live in the US. My story is I got locked up about 20 years ago, and it was just a major turning point in my life. What happened is I ended up losing my house, my custody of a child, all of my friends, my income. I had to go to the food shelf and get charity help to stay housed. And most of all, I lost my sense of dignity and self-respect. And that really was what I had to recover from. That's what I had to move on from. And it was much less to do with what was going on in my head at the time. So I acquired probably well over a dozen diagnoses over the time, and I just choose not to identify with any of them. Many of them have been useful for a little bit of time, but it's almost like a snake or an insect kind of growing out of and shedding its skin, and I've moved on and chosen to move on and define myself as a person who has normal reactions to abnormal events, and perhaps I'm on the outer edges of the bell curve in the ways that I live and I process things, but I see that as a gift, and sometimes it's a challenge. So what happened for me was I lost all those things, and very ironically I was actually also working as a mental health professional, as a clinician and a manager, and I got fired. And that was a huge loss to me. And I also discovered at the same time that the people who did most for my recovery were actually not the people who were paid to be there. They were my fellow inpatients, and I took up smoking because the smoking room was the best place to be. That's where all the conversations happen, where we inspired one another, we gave one another hope. I learned so much from my my fellow inmates, if you like, and they made me feel that I had something to offer them, and that was really one of the first times in my life I felt this feeling of belonging. So that's when I decided to really acknowledge what one of my favourite quotes was, the healer must find the wounded within, and the wounded must find the healer within. So I started to work as a person who was very out about their own challenges and their own experiences. I reincarnated myself as a bit of an activist from hell, and ended up working for the United Nations on the New Zealand delegation to develop the Convention for the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. I was also working at that time as a board member of the World Network of Users and Survivors of Psychiatry. So I dedicated myself to finding alternatives that worked, that kept us attached to our lives, attached to the community, and that were non-coercive, because coercion, I was forced treated, was almost like rape. It was just like feeling violated. So that's why I do what I do. It's called intentional peer support, and it's really a way of thinking about how we can be in relationships that support one another to live well, stay connected to our lives, and to live with some really challenging experiences, but to sit with the discomfort and to stay connected rather than getting vacuumed out of our lives and put somewhere else. Thank you very much.